Today we're going to be making a witch's cauldron. I found this to be a lot of fun to make, especially to do with the children, because they love creating things that they can eat and take home and say they did it. This is definitely something that's not going to freak them out and be too hard for them. What I did was I started with the black gum paste that we colored from one of the previous videos, and I took a piece about the size of a marshmallow, a regular marshmallow, and I'm going to leave it at that shape to start with. Make sure one of the sides is flat. It's going to set flush to the counter, your surface, and you take a tool and you just go in and start hollowing it out a little and go all the way around. Now if you want it to be a perfect, absolutely just brilliant looking cauldron, then smooth out all the creases and cracks of your gum paste. But for this project, I want to leave it with some cracks in there deliberately, because I want it to have that effect like an old witch's cauldron. So I'm not going to worry if there's any cracks or little imperfect parts here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just pulling it open, much like all the other videos, kind of how we get started. You're going to find the more you do work with gum paste and fondant, you do start with just a few basic structures to start off with. A few shapes. It's either like a ball shape, a sausage shape, a tear shape, and from there you can get anything you're trying to go for. So now I'm just putting my fingers in here and going around and thinning the edges out, as well as kind of trying to maintain it without ripping it and destroying it too much. I'm going around and I'm going to make sure it's up about as high as I want it to be. Okay, and I don't know if you can see too clearly, I'm trying to put a background here, but there's cracks, and I want that, because if you make it too perfect, it's going to look like you just bought it or something, like it's not actually homemade. And for what we're going for, we do want it to be imperfect. So now I'm going to hold it down here and flatten the edge out, because it's going to be like a bowl shape. Now, you could use a former of anything that you have to do that. I prefer to do it this way because I have more control over it. And I'm just going to round out the bottom with my little ball tool here, and then pick it up in my hand and cup it. Okay, like this. So when I go inside, I'm going in a circular motion to make the edges on the inside take on that bowl effect, okay, without tearing through it or destroying it. But I want it to have that rounded effect in there. So I'm just going to keep going around and around until I'm pretty happy with it. And once I am, I'm going to stop. Okay? So now I have that bold effect, and I can even go in with my fingers and kind of pull it and push it even more to give it that rounded look, like a real cauldron would be, or a kettle. And I want to keep some depth or thickness to the bottom, because it needs to stand up on its own without completely buckling in itself. Okay, so this is kind of a thick one. So we're going to thin it out just a little bit more, going around. Okay, the only thing you're probably going to want to really focus on is making sure that the height of it is pretty equal, because we're going to be putting a band on it. Now you can leave the top part around here a little bit thick and just kind of bevel it out or whatever you want to do, but I prefer to put a trim on it just because I like the way it looks. Okay, so you put it down, flatten it out, make sure you're happy with the size and the shape of it and how it's looking so far. And so far I think it's pretty good. I like that. I think it's, I don't know if you can see it too well. It's definitely not perfect, but that's what you want. You just go around, make sure you're happy with it. Okay, and it probably could be a little bit more rounded, which is fine, because at that point you would just take the top and kind of turn it in a little bit, and it'll have that little bold effect. Okay, when you guys try this, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It works